I was only 6 years old when they tied me to the tree. The rope dug into my wrist, rough against my skin, but I barely felt it. My heart was pounding too hard. All I could do was stare at the people gathered around me, people I had grown up with, people I knew well. Yet that night, under the moonlight, they felt like strangers. The fear in their eyes made them different. They whispered among themselves, watching me like I was some kind of danger. I had heard the whispers for weeks, but no one had ever said it to my face until that night. I was the reason bad things were happening to our village. It didn't start right away. For a long time, my family lived as any other. My mother always told me I was special, a child of the gods. She would hold my face in her hands, staring into my pale eyes as if searching for something hidden in me. "You were born under the full moon," she would say, "a gift sent to remind us that beauty is found in all things." But not everyone saw it that way. My skin was white as chalk, and my hair light like the dried maize stalks after harvest. People would stare when I walked through the village with my mother, sometimes touching their chins or making marks in the air, like they were warding off evil. Ocha, they called me, the Pale One. I didn't understand why it made them uncomfortable. At first, it was just small kids running away from me in the market, women muttering under their breath when I passed. My father said it was ignorance, nothing more. He told me to ignore them, that they would come to accept me in time. I believed him. After all, he was a respected man, and he loved me fiercely. He never once made me feel like I was different from any other child. Then the rains came too late one season, and the crops didn't grow as they should. The village elders prayed to the gods and made sacrifices, but nothing changed. Families began to worry about the coming harvest. The sky seemed endless, an unbroken blue for weeks on end. People were desperate. That's when the first finger was pointed at me. It started with whispers, low and hushed, mostly from the old women who sat near the market. They said the spirits were angry because of me, that the gods had sent me as a warning. Children like her, I overheard one say, bring bad luck. I ran home that day, trying not to cry. I didn't want my mother to see me upset, but she knew something was wrong the moment I stepped through the door. She held me, brushed my hair with her hands, and told me not to listen. They don't know what they are saying, she whispered. You are a gift, not a curse. But no matter what my mother said, the rumors grew. When the river began to dry up, they looked at me again. The Nzu River, which had always been the lifeblood of our village, was slowly turning into a trickle. People couldn't understand why. The elders performed their rituals, but still, the river shrank. And the more it shrank, the more the village looked at me. One evening, Obi, the eldest of the elders, called my father to his home. I watched from the shadows as they spoke in low tones, their faces serious. I saw the way my father's shoulders slumped when he came out. His usual confidence was gone. He didn't speak to me that night, but the next morning, he told my mother that the village was going to perform a ritual. They needed to be sure if I was truly the source of the problems. I knew what that meant. My mother protested, of course. She refused at first, said they were being foolish, but the village had made up its mind. If they didn't perform the ritual, things would only get worse. At least, That's what they believed. That evening, they came for me. I wasn't afraid at first. I still believed, deep down, that the gods would show them the truth, that I was innocent, that I wasn't the cause of all these misfortunes. My father didn't say much, but his face told me everything. He had no choice. The villagers had demanded it, and in his heart, I think he hoped the ritual would clear my name. They led me to the tree in the middle of the village, the one they said was sacred. It was tall and gnarled, its branches twisting into the sky like fingers reaching for the stars. The air was thick with tension as the villagers gathered around, torches flickering in the twilight. The elders stood in front, their white wrappers glowing in the dim light. Obi was there, clutching his staff, the one with the eagle's head carved at the top. They said that eagle could see into people's souls. They tied my wrist to the tree, the rope biting into my skin. I didn't cry out. I just looked at them, at all their faces, hoping anyone would see me, truly see me. But all I saw was fear. The ritual began. They chanted words I didn't understand, calling on the spirits to reveal the truth. The drums beat in the background, slow and heavy, like a heartbeat. The wind picked up, stirring the leaves, and the firelight cast strange shadows across the ground. My heart raced as I waited for something to happen, for the spirits to speak, to give a sign that I wasn't the cause of all this suffering. But the tree stood silent. For hours, the villagers watched, their eyes fixed on me, waiting for a sign. Any sign. The wind howled, the drums beat faster, but still, nothing happened. The night stretched on, and slowly, one by one, the villagers began to lower their heads. There was no sign. No spirits. Just the silence of the night. By dawn, they untied me. No one said anything. They had come expecting answers, but they left with only more questions. I was released, but the damage was done. From that day, things were never the same. We moved to the edge of the village, far from the others. My mother never looked at me the same way again. I think, deep down, even she started to wonder if the whispers were true. My father did what he could to protect me, but there was only so much he could do. In time, the river filled again, the crops grew, and the sickness stopped. Life in the village returned to normal. But I didn't. The people still kept their distance, casting me sideways glances as I walked by. The children no longer played with me. I became the girl who was feared. The girl tied to the tree. The one who, even if she wasn't cursed, had been touched by something the village could never understand. And that, I learned, was sometimes enough to make you an outcast forever.